mistreatment, disdain, loneliness. These would be some of the words I could use to describe the life of Alfred Kubin, the artist who managed to draw the subconscious, the nightmares that torment him, and who also captured the darkest and most grotesque aspects of human nature in his works. From animals devouring humans, skeletal women with supernatural pregnancies, to terrifying drawings that represent the suffering he had to endure throughout his life. Welcome to the nightmares of Alfred Kubin. Alfred Kubin's works were considered degenerate art by the Nazis. As you already know, anything that wasn't heroic or German art was seen as degenerate by them. Modern art, like that created by the German Expressionists, was not accepted. Their works were confiscated, and many artists were not allowed to exhibit, teach, and much less sell their art. Alfred Kubin was one of those artists deemed degenerate. Kubin's life was a true nightmare from childhood. His mother died when he was young, something that deeply affected him. He even attempted suicide at his mother's grave, as his father physically abused him. Kubin was a mischievous child. He would run away from home and had a particular obsession with the night and the twilight hours. As a child, Kubin would often torture small animals like rats and lizards. Additionally, he had a peculiar imagination, drawing strange things such as cows with 4 horns, wizards, or landscapes engulfed in flames. When his mother passed away, he was only 10 years old. That's when he decided to go to her grave with a pistol, ready to end his life. However, the gun was rusted and didn't fire when he tried to shoot himself. In his memoirs, Kubin writes that he lacked the courage to pull the trigger a second time. The images Kubin saw in his childhood likely influenced all of his work. For example, when his mother died, his father, in a state of despair, carried her body around the house, wailing and gesturing frantically. That scene was a true nightmare. After the mourning period, his father married his mother's sister, who also died sometime later due to complications from childbirth. Kubin recounts that from a young age, he knew nothing but disdain and hatred. Kubin had a mischievous spirit. In one of his books, he recounts how one day, while playing with his friends, he snuck into the mayor's house and hid under his bed. He fell asleep there, and when he woke up in the early hours, he decided to whisper the mayor's name from beneath the bed, giving him a huge fright. Kubin also enjoyed taking walks at twilight through the mountains near his home in a small Bohemian village. There are many myths surrounding Alfred Kubin, but what is true is that he claimed to have visions since childhood. During his youth, he joined the Austrian army, but suffered a breakdown that led to his being hospitalized due to seizures and delusions. He believed he was a Bourbon prince living on the island of Borneo. He spent 3 months in the hospital and another month recovering, plagued by tremors. All those visions he experienced throughout his life were what he captured in his drawings. Throughout his life, Kubin lived through 2 world wars. Although he didn't participate directly in them, he witnessed the catastrophes and was able to capture the chaotic energy surrounding him. As for his artistic training, at the age of 21, his father sent him to study art at the Munich Academy. He attended several academies, but it was upon discovering the works of Max Klinger that he felt a new world opened up to him. He was also influenced by artists such as Edvard Munch, Goya, Felician Rops, James Ensor, and Odilon Radon, who profoundly inspired him and defined his artistic path. Kubin's first exhibition was held in Berlin, where he presented his phantasmagorical drawings. While some friends appreciated his work, many critics dismissed them as a chamber of horrors. Fortunately, a friend bought 12 drawings and a collector purchased 48 more. However, Kubin also went through difficult times when he sold nothing at all. Kubin's first love was a dead girl. At the age of 7, a girl named Maria died after a severe illness. Kubin went with his friends to see the body, as at that time, the dead were laid out with candles and flowers. The image deeply impacted Kubin. While his friends went outside to eat slices of bread, he stayed alone with the body, feeling a strange compassion for the girl. That night, Kubin couldn't sleep, thinking about Maria, whom he hadn't paid attention to in life, but who had impressed him in death. Kubin, besides being a solitary man, lived surrounded by animals. In 1906, he moved to a 12th century castle where he raised deer, chickens, and had fruit trees. He even had 2 monkeys. His first monkey he bought in Hamburg, but it was larger than he expected and quite aggressive, so he decided to return it. The seller offered him a smaller monkey, which Kubin accepted. He named him Giovanni, and this new monkey was very affectionate, but as it grew older, it became more aggressive, especially during bath time. One day, Kubin tried to bathe the monkey, but it became violent. In a panic, Kubin struck it with a log, killing it. This incident deeply affected him, so much so that monkeys frequently appeared in his nightmares and drawings. I wanted to compile some of Kubin's works that have caught my attention the most, and I would love to interpret them together with you. Remember, this is a personal interpretation, so if you have anything to add or if you disagree, I'd love for you to leave it in the comments. The first one is titled The Hour of Death. Kubin created this drawing in 1900, and you can see how a clock hangs from a sort of tower with a head hanging at every hour. Instead of hands counting the minutes and seconds that pass, there is a sword that decapitates everything in its path. In my view, the message this work conveys is much clearer than in many others, and it is about how the passage of time ends our lives. Each of those heads represents a human being, and time, represented by the clock, is slowly destroying our existence as it advances. If you look closely, at the bottom, there's a kind of basket, collecting each fallen head with this macabre contraption. What do you think this basket might symbolize? Another incredible piece is The Lady on the Horse. In it, we see how an elegant woman sits on a toy horse, but instead of being supported by a simple stand, the horse is held up by giant blades. On the ground, we see the remains of what seem to be people, some wounded and others completely destroyed by this mysterious woman, who doesn't even bother to glance at the horror she's caused. Perhaps this woman represents how the upper classes of society are tearing apart the lower classes, or rather, dismembering them. In this other drawing, Kubin tackles a heavy subject, one that is also quite recurrent in most of his works. We see a man lying on a bed, apparently ill, and standing beside him is a human figure with a skull-like face. This mysterious figure is placing its hand over the man's face, covering his eyes and leaving him breathless. The title of the work is The Best Physician, making us think that this figure is death, and for Kubin, death is the best nurse. The only cure for the pain this man is likely suffering is death. Contrary to what we might believe, the best medicine is not the one that seeks to heal us, but the one that ends our suffering. From 1906, when Kubin moved to his castle, until 1959, he lived a reclusive life. All of his fears and nightmares, which tormented him, he captured in his illustrations and paintings. There are hundreds of drawings this man left for us, and I wasn't able to show all of them in this video, which is why you'll find a collection of his best works in our catalogue. You can even have them as decorations for your home or as a phone case. I'd love for you to check out the catalogue and buy your favorite painting. Worldwide shipping is free, and I'll leave the link in the description. That's it for today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this artist, so feel free to leave a comment. Don't forget to like the video if you found it interesting, and subscribe to see 2 analyses like this one every week. See you in the next video. Bye.